Police search self-exiled activist Nathan Law's home in Hong Kong and take his family away to make statements. Repair work after ground subsidence at Man Kam To border crossing will take about a month to complete. And Turkey withdraws its objection to Sweden joining NATO. Hello and welcome to TVB News. Hong Kong National Security Police have reportedly searched the home of wanted activist Nathan Law in Tung Chung. Officers also reportedly took Law's family members away to make statements. Law, formerly a founder of Demosisto, is among 8 self-exiled opposition figures against whom the police issued arrest warrants last week. Authorities say they have secured some information and will step up their investigation efforts. Sharon Tang reports.
Police have placed $1 million bounties for each of the 8 self-exiled activists who allegedly endangered national security. It's believed national security officers went to the apartment of Nathan Law, one of the activists, in Tung Chung this morning and searched the premises. Officers then took Law's parents and elder brother away to make statements. Police are reportedly trying to find out whether they have offered financial aid to Law and acted as his agent in Hong Kong. Sources say the trio were allowed to leave afterwards. 3 years ago, Nathan Law took to social media to publicly renounce ties with his family, adding that he had never contacted his family after leaving Hong Kong. Just a week after the arrest warrants were issued against 8 activists who have gone overseas, National Security Police have arrested 5 people in Hong Kong. All 5 individuals are formerly members of Demosisto who allegedly operated an online shopping platform to financially support Nathan Law. Today, Chief Executive John Lee said the police have secured some information and vowed to beef up intelligence collection.
We are going to hunt them for life. Any assistance to them will be taken to task, and we will also hunt for people who are supporting them or in control of them, and also widen our intelligence gathering network, and we will step up our efforts to crack down on them.
Meanwhile, Secretary for Justice Paul Lam has accused 2 other wanted persons, Dennis Kwok and Kevin Yam, of professional misconduct. That's after Lam lodged complaints with the Hong Kong Bar Association and the Law Society of Hong Kong. President of the Law Society, Chan Chak Ming, said today a probe has begun, but it's hard to tell when results will be out. He said the professional body has never handled complaints related to the national security law. Still, Chan stressed each case will be treated fairly by following the protocols so that the respondent has a chance to defend himself. Sharon Tang, TVB News.
Speaking at a Law Society forum today, the city's security chief noted the city is still at risk even after the implementation of the national security law.
And although the social order has been restored after the implementation of the NSL, national security threats remains, and just like other places in the world. It would be too naive to think that national security threats to Hong Kong would be gone for good. To the contrary, activities of the criminals have gone increasingly underground.
The Executive Council will be adjourned starting next week. Chief Executive John Lee said he will lead a delegation to visit 3 ASEAN members during the period: Singapore, Malaysia, and Indonesia. Mimo Singai reports.
During his 1 year in office so far, Chief Executive John Lee visited a number of countries, including Thailand and Saudi Arabia. Later this month, the CEO will lead a delegation comprising government officials and 30 representatives from the business and professional fields to Singapore, Malaysia, and Indonesia, members of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. Lee said the trip is important because ASEAN is the SAR's second largest trading partner and is on track to become the world's 4th biggest economy by 2030.
We try to expand the market for Hong Kong. We are looking for new business opportunities. We'd also like to explain to the business sectors there about the new opportunities we have in Hong Kong. We'll highlight our close connection to mainland, and so we can tell good stories about Hong Kong.
Meanwhile, the CE said while the Executive Council is adjourned, he will prepare for his second policy address to be delivered in October. It includes launching public consultations to canvass opinions and suggestions from lawmakers and the public. Moreover, Li will visit communities to collect opinions in person, something he did for his first policy address. Deputy Director of SOCO, Xilai Shan, hopes authorities can go a step further to alleviate poverty. She said a schedule should be formulated to resolve poverty issues, such as the elimination of all cage homes and cubicle apartments in the city. While Hong Kong has seen a decline in population, the CE believes the worst is over, saying authorities are discussing measures to encourage childbirth. To increase the birth rate, lawmaker Judy Chen said authorities need to provide interdepartmental support to couples. Memos 9, TVB News.
Chief Executive John Lee said workers would need about a month to repair the border crossing at the Man Tam Co. Ground subsidence happened at the checkpoint Sunday evening, blocking northbound vehicles and travelers from Hong Kong to the mainland. While some people worry that the incident will affect the local logistics trade, the chief executive believes the impact will be minimal. He added that the government is in touch with mainland authorities to discuss the matter. Turkey has withdrawn its objections to Sweden joining NATO, a step towards the unity that Western leaders have been eager to demonstrate in the face of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The U.S. hailed the decision by Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, saying rumors of the death of NATO are greatly exaggerated. Ukraine is also eager to join the alliance, but its application has divided NATO countries. Nazvi Karim has more.
A historic handshake that opens the way for Sweden to join NATO. Turkey's President Tayyip Recep Erdogan meets Swedish Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson in the presence of NATO General Secretary Jens Stoltenberg at the Military Alliances Summit in Vilnius, Lithuania. Erdogan has agreed to push Sweden's case to Turkey's parliament, having previously held out after accusing Stockholm of being lax towards members of the outlawed Kurdistan Workers' Party, deemed a terrorist organization by Turkey, the EU and the US. With Hungary saying it would no longer block membership, Sweden is cleared to follow new member Finland, which was approved in April, and become NATO's 32nd member country.
First of all, the most important message is that this summit is already historic before it has started, because we have now in place Swedish membership. Sweden will become a full-fledged member of this alliance. That's good for Sweden, it's good for Turkey, and it's good for the whole of NATO, and it's also good for the Baltic region.
But it's a two-way deal, with the Swedish leader vowing to support Turkey's push for European Union membership. US President Joe Biden, who arrived in Vilnius on Monday, welcomed the announcement and was due to hold a face-to-face meeting with Erdogan during the two-day summit. I stand ready to work with President Erdogan and Turkey on enhancing defense and deterrence in the Euro-Atlantic area, Biden said in a statement. Enhancing defense also means a US deal to sell Turkey $20 billion worth of F-16 fighter jets, though Stoltenberg insists this is not linked to Sweden's approval. With Sweden almost confirmed, NATO countries now turn to the more difficult question of Ukraine. Stoltenberg is keen to push through Ukraine's case, even bypassing the Membership Action Plan procedure that vets a country's eligibility and considers aspects such as democratic values and corruption. But NATO members are divided, with some fearing a Kyiv membership would escalate tensions with Russia and drag the entire alliance into a military conflict with Moscow. Nazvi Karim, TVB News.
Russia launched an overnight airstrike on Kyiv in the early hours of Tuesday, Ukraine's military said. Ukraine's air defense systems shot down all the Iranian-made Shahed drones Russia launched before they reached their targets. There was no immediate information on damage or casualties. Ukraine, meanwhile, said its troops had caught occupying Russian forces in a trap in the eastern city of Bakhmut. Kyiv is trying to recapture territory lost to Russia since the start of the invasion in February last year. Bakhmut was one of the last cities to fall after a months-long campaign, resulting in heavy losses on both sides. According to the Reuters news agency, a group of Wagner fighters approached a Russian military base containing nuclear weapons during their short-lived rebellion last month. Ukraine's head of military intelligence, Kirilo Budanov, told Reuters in an interview that Wagner fighters reached the base. Their intention, he said, was to acquire small Soviet-era nuclear devices to raise the stakes in their mutiny. The report said a contingent of military vehicles split from a Wagner column that was advancing towards Moscow on June 24th. The breakaway convoy drove towards Voronezh 45, a military and nuclear base that lies in a thick forest away from populated areas, the reporting shows. The rebellion was eventually abandoned after a deal that allowed Wagner leader Yevgeny Prigozhin to seek exile in Belarus, while Moscow would drop all treason charges against him and his fighters. British detectives have met with representatives of the BBC after a presenter allegedly paid a teenager for sexually explicit photos. But police say they have not opened a criminal investigation, and a lawyer for the young person denied anything inappropriate had happened. David Garrett reports.
The story of a high-profile BBC presenter paying a teenager $45,000 for sexually explicit photos is not going away. The decision by the publicly funded corporation to suspend, but not name, the presenter has fuelled speculation. Several of the BBC's best-known faces felt they had to come forward to say it wasn't them. Some threatened to take legal action after being falsely named on Twitter by members of the public, taking a guess.
The BBC's been in a difficult situation on issues like this before, with like the Diana interview, Cliff Richard, Jimmy Savile, and a lot of people have pointed the finger at them and said, you've got it wrong in the past, are you getting it wrong now? I think to be fair to them, what they're saying is, look, this is a complex, nuanced situation where people aren't really fully aware of all the facts, and when there is an opportunity for those facts to come out, it should become a lot clearer.
A lawyer acting on behalf of the young woman says the allegations made by her mother in the tabloid are rubbish, putting the spotlight back on the Sun and the accuracy of its reporting. But the tabloid says it has seen evidence, and both parents claim they reported the employee in question to the BBC in May and were ignored. The paper and politicians say this reflects badly on the BBC's processes.
There will need to be a careful review about the chronology of this, what happened when, and I'm not going to cast aspersions because I don't have all that information, but time is of the essence, because it's not fair on victims, it's not fair on people who could be implicated, and it's not fair on the BBC, which does an important job. You know, I'm not here to, as it were, bash the BBC, but I do think they need to get their house in order and they need to proceed promptly.
The Metropolitan Police have so far not brought criminal charges. The age of sexual consent in the UK is 16. It is a crime to make or possess indecent images of anyone under 18. The unnamed girl is said to have been paid for the images from the age of 17, which her lawyer denies. The British broadcaster remains under pressure to reveal the identity of the male presenter as they continue to report the story on their own channels. David Garrett, TVB News.
The Ministry of Foreign Affairs says Wang Yi, a director of the Communist Party's Foreign Affairs Commission, will attend this week's regional forum of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations in Jakarta. Foreign Minister Qin Gang was scheduled to go but is unwell. Qin has not made a public appearance for 2 weeks. The nature of his illness is not known. On the ASEAN agenda will be the continuation of a nuclear weapon-free Southeast Asia and the conflict in Myanmar. Myanmar's military junta will not attend because they're accused of failing to honor a commitment to end hostilities. At the forum later this week, Wang will be joined by U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. And the airport authority is distributing through local airlines free air tickets between Hong Kong and the mainland, as well as overseas destinations. Among them, Hong Kong Express opened registration this morning, and tickets were all snatched up by around 6 p.m. Hong Kong Express started distributing the tickets at 10:30 a.m. However, its website showed the public had to queue online for hours. The tickets are for trips to and from 19 destinations with a total of around 20,000 available. All were on a first-come, first-served basis. On the 24th of this month, Hong Kong Airlines will distribute tickets to and from some 20 destinations, including the mainland, Indonesia, and Japan. The event is in celebration of the 25th anniversary of Hong Kong International Airport at Chek Lap Kok. And to commemorate the 50th anniversary of Kung Fu superstar Bruce Lee's passing, the Hong Kong Heritage Museum has put together a special exhibition. Bruce Lee, a timeless classic, opens tomorrow and will run until January 1st next year. Veronica Lin reports.
Arguably the most famous kung fu star of his generation, Bruce Lee transcended boundaries and broke down barriers as a martial arts expert, as well as a well-respected actor. To commemorate the 50th anniversary of his untimely passing, the Hong Kong Heritage Museum put together a special exhibition titled Bruce Lee, a Timeless Classic, for the public to experience his charm and, more importantly, learn about his legacy. From realistic figurines, comic books, to postage stamps, these unique and rare memorabilia allow viewers to get to know Lee in an intimate way through his presence in pop culture. Right upstairs from the special exhibit is yet another Bruce Lee exhibition that opened in 2021. The Hong Kong Heritage Museum director, Brian Lam, said the biggest challenge in putting together the new one was to avoid repeating the same content.
So when we are going to present this exhibition, we want to avoid repeating some of the exhibits. So we select the theme, just like I mentioned before. That's a theme about his Bruce Lee's impact, far-reaching impact on the popular culture, Hong Kong's popular culture.
Kids in Hong Kong are also in for a treat this summer, as the Heritage Museum has teamed up with the Bruce Lee Foundation to host the first ever Camp Bruce Lee outside the United States. Primary school kids can enjoy a variety of workshops on art, storytelling, and Jeet Kune Do, as well as having the opportunity to speak online with the late Kung Fu master's daughter, Shannon Lee.
The kids will have, they can build up this lifelong friendship during the camp, and also they have the chance to get closer to Bruce Lee's legacy, and they to learn about his philosophy, his martial arts skills, and also have a chance to learn about how Bruce Lee to overcome the challenge, the difficulties he encountered in his life.
Bruce Lee mania took the world by storm in the 70s, and memorabilia such as his life-size bust have since become popular among fans. Veronica Lin, TVB News.
That is the news. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.